Good morning. Today we're going to be looking at AMI Day 14 for the math section. And I just want to start by reading the problem together. It says, a toy rocket and a drone were launched at the same time. Here are the graphs that represent the heights of two objects as a function of time since they were launched. So if we look at this, we've got time in seconds across the bottom of the graph. And then on the side of the graph, we have the height in meters. So if we're looking at this, we can say, just for an example, this graph at 2 seconds was 20 meters up in the air. Time in seconds, height in meters, all right? So it says height is measured in meters above the ground and time is measured in seconds since the launch. This is asking us to do a couple of things. One, analyze the graphs and describe as precisely as you can what happens to each object. Your description should be complete and precise enough that someone, Your description should be complete and precise enough that someone who is not looking at the graph could visualize how the objects were behaving. So basically, as you're describing these graphs, don't just describe them using mathematical terms, but describe them in terms of the rocket or in terms of the drone. So say exactly what's happening to the rocket and say exactly what's happening to the drone. So what I'd like for you guys to do is just take a second on your own and look at the two graphs. One is here, and one is here. I want you to consider both of those graphs just for a second. Which one do you think would be the rocket and which one do you think would be the drone? Why? So I just want you guys to think about that, right? Which one is the rocket? Which one is the drone? Now, one is labeled with an R for us, so we know that one's the rocket. But why? What makes that the rocket? What about this graph shows the flight pattern of a rocket? This one is obviously labeled with a D, so we know this one is the drone. But what about this graph makes it the drone? So we're going to use some language here. It says, according to the graph, the first toy rocket, blank, then blank, finally blank. So what we want you to do is describe in words what's happening to the rocket. So I'm just going to put some quick dots here. What happened right here? The time is 0 since its launch, and the height is 25 meters. So at this point, this is where it's launching, right? Think about the graph. Then what happened? What happened right here? This is like a good turning point. And then what's going on here, right? What's happening to the rocket? And then lastly, I would want to know what happens right here. So use language that's talking about the graph or about the rocket, not necessarily about the graph. And then do the same thing with the drone. Pick out some points, describe what's happening. So first the rocket went up in the air, then it started coming back down, but try to tell me when and where that happened too. Then lastly, it says which parts or features of the graph shows important information about the graphs or about the object's movement. List the features or mark them on the graph. So here I've got some labeled, right? I put dots on some important parts of the rocket. So what you're going to do is you're going to label that as the point. So I'm just going to say that first one, right? Or you know what? I'm going to do at 2:45. And this is what I want it to look like. So label the point, 2:45. So basically what that means is the 2 represents the amount of time since the launch, and the 45 represents how high it is up. So at this point, it is 2 seconds after the launch, and it's 445 meters up in the air. So what I want you guys to do here is say what's happening. So I would say at this point, it is the highest point that the rocket's going to reach, or that's when it stopped going up and started coming down, or however you want to say it, but you're going to use words to describe what's happening. And then right after you describe what's happening, I want you to put in parentheses what the name of that graph or what the name of that feature on the graph would be. So in this case, we've got a parabola, right? So this would be the vertex of the parabola. And that I just want you guys to label that. Some other words that might be helpful as you're doing this could be the x-intercepts, y-intercepts, maximum values, minimum values, relative max, relative min. You could do increasing intervals, decreasing intervals. You could talk about what other vocabulary is there here? Positive, negative. We could talk about, trying to think if there's anything else. Y'all let me know. If there's anything else, any other math words that you could include, go ahead and add them here. But remember to include the point, a description of what's happening at that point, and then name it with a math term. All right. So y'all let me know if this helps. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Feel free to email me or your math teacher, and we are here for you. I hope you guys have a good day, and just reach out if you need any help. Have a good day.